Ohio State Media Day in the books. Ohio State open practice viewing period in the books. So there is a lot to get to on the Roosters playoff report. Is this thing on? Nope, it's not. It's fake. This is where Ohio State's final press conference of the week will occur with Ryan Day and Oregon coach Dan Lanning. That will be on Tuesday. What a busy Monday out here in Los Angeles, out here at the Sheridan Grand. Back from Ohio State's practice. That is Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. What'd you learn, Burn?
Not a lot. If we go back to the notebook, which is on the channel right now, people can watch it. I think one of the more interesting things we learned was the conversation with Lincoln Kienholz. And maybe that seems irrelevant for today or this week, but it sure seemed like a kid who was intent on staying at Ohio State at least through the spring, as we've discussed. Clearly, he was not holding back about how this year kind of didn't go the way he anticipated. Especially considering a year ago, he was walking off the field in the Cotton Bowl thinking that he had a real shot to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State. And he took, I think, like 2 snaps this year in the first round of the playoff against Tennessee. So that was something that just I think is interesting to talk about. Maybe not for the mood of this week, but out at practice, it seemed like a very focused Ohio State group. Ryan Day was pretty vocal in the little team huddle before they really went into the practice session, but right when we got kicked out. And then as soon as the SIDs said media has to leave, like we heard Ryan Day cranking up his volume and his intensity and his profanity to a level I've never heard at an Ohio State practice from him.
Yeah.
So, I think you see a team that is understanding the assignment here. It feels similar to me as it did maybe like the Tuesday of it would have been Wednesday of the Tennessee week, which today's similar, I guess, in that structure of the week. And I remember putting on the graphic for the video that day, like Ohio State takes an aggressive stance, and that's kind of how it felt today. Like I feel like this is a team that is going to lay it all out there this week, and whatever happens, but I don't think that they seem to be caught up in the moment at all.
Yeah, I think watching him on the practice field or listening to him in the media settings and the press conferences, I feel like Ryan Day, so there were times in the build-up to Tennessee where it was like a little bit looser. We saw, some of the joking around. Not that they weren't able to switch gears and go back into that laser focus mode, but I think some of the responses that had nothing to do with football, when you asked him about, going to the Lowry's Beef Bowl and not having to do a bunch of these events, and he immediately, that was as close to him being critical of the entire enterprise of college football as he has maybe ever been, at the risk of hyperbole. And I think that is indicative of the playoff mindset that now he is. There were so many different, unique opportunities in the build-up to Tennessee, and in fact, including the fact that it was at home, and like maybe you could take a different approach. Yeah. This is sort of feels to me like the bunker mentality, where we often see Ohio State go on the road and lean on the brotherhood and keep the circle tight, and then it becomes like much easier for them to tune out anything outside. Doing media here and having an open practice, 27 minutes of open viewing for practice. Outside of that, they're not doing anything other than watching film, having meetings, and I think they've done a really good job eliminating the distraction. What does it mean on Wednesday? We're going to find out, but I think that this reminds me of the way Ryan Day has approached some of his best performances. And it's very different. We talked about that on Monday with Zach Bourne, which is like they went into the Tennessee game being doubted, being questioned, dealing with the pain and emotional damage of losing the rivalry. And I kind of wondered how they would take on this new challenge. And I don't know, I got the sense that some of the players were very loose in the same way that they were before Tennessee, and some of them were taking a very professional mindset, and in cues, I think, maybe from their head coach.
Yeah, you can be professional and still allow yourself to enjoy the situation a little bit. Ryan Day seemed, and I don't mean this as a negative in any way, but he seemed annoyed they had to do media day this morning. Like, why? We need to hurry this up so we can get out of here and get back to practice. And it is probably hard for the bowl game itself, for the Rose Bowl, to hear him say this isn't a bowl game, it's a playoff game, and so they're not celebrating being here. They haven't accomplished anything. The goal, as Ryan Day said, is to win this one and go to the next round of the playoff. And so it definitely is a different tone. But you saw the players that they seem to be able to strike a balance, and I think that some of that comes with being young. Some of that comes with people not wanting your head on a platter if you lose. I think that's a little different for players than for coaches. But yeah, this is a team that is saying all the right things. And again, after the Michigan game, the question was, how do you bounce back? How do you, as Ryan Day, how do you bring your program back to the point where everyone isn't like thinking only about the loss to Michigan? And now the challenge is different because now you have to think about Oregon, and you can't spend any real time thinking about what you did against Tennessee because it doesn't matter. So, Ryan Day, when you asked him about it on the notebook, said quite simply, like, they have to execute. They executed really well in the Tennessee game. And if you come out against Oregon and you don't execute, it's not going to matter. No one's going to remember how good you played against Tennessee if you come out against Oregon and play like crap. So you better be bringing your A game. And the distractions are over here, which is really nice, honestly. I mean, it's Monday. The game we are just about 46 hours away from the game right now. And all he has to do, that's part of the pomp and circumstance of the Rose Bowl, is sit at this microphone tomorrow morning for a half hour, and then you can get right back to work. So it is a business trip. Will Howard said it on Sunday night, and I know it's cliche to say, well, we didn't come here to celebrate. We came here to win a game. But for the players, I wish that they would have been able to find a way to make. It's still important to get to the Rose Bowl. I mean, it still means something. You're now in the second round of the playoffs. Like, I think that there is, unfortunately,
but it shouldn't be different. Like if you were in the Fiesta Bowl or, any of them, like they are now all the same.
Yeah.
Like the Tournament of Roses, they're not going to a parade.
Right. Where's the parade? Where is it? People are still going to a parade on Wednesday morning. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I hope that the players at some point get a chance to be like, hey, that was pretty cool. We went to the Rose Bowl. But they're just getting there, going to a football game and leaving. They're not taking part in, like you said, the Lowry's Beef Bowl, or
I think they're skipping
Disneyland or any of the crap that has happened in the past.
Oregon is scheduled to go take a team photo at the Rose Bowl. Maybe they're planning on having a walkthrough out there. Ohio State does not usually. It was a huge deal when they did that the day before the Northwestern game because of the uniqueness of that setting. But Ohio State is not scheduled to go out to the Rose Bowl. They are not scheduled to go do a team photo. Again, what does it mean? I don't know. They're trying their best to eliminate the distractions and focus purely on what's going to happen Wednesday at 2 o'clock Pacific time. And I'm for that.
Yeah.
Some of the other nonsense that comes with these games, like if it's an exhibition, so be it. Yeah. This is not an exhibition. And I think Ohio State is treating it with the urgency that it needs to. And that's not to say that Oregon isn't. I'm not going to Oregon's. I didn't go to Oregon's media day. Didn't listen to Dan Lanning. I will on Tuesday morning. Not saying that going out to the Rose Bowl and having a team photo is going to cost them the game or anything else. But I know for Ohio State's preparation that you know it when you feel it, when you see it, that they are looking at an opportunity and treating it pretty seriously, but not too seriously, which is something that we've seen them maybe mismanage when it comes to the rivalry.
I mean, that was we talked about it multiple times heading into the game on November 30th, like how different Ryan Day seemed that week and leading up to it. But then when you got on the field, it didn't matter. The haunt came back.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is a similar situation, though. So there is no mental block about Oregon. Yeah, Oregon's beat Ryan Day twice in his career. He's lost 10 games and 2 of them are to Oregon. So maybe there should be more discussion about that. 20% of his losses are to the Ducks. 60% of his losses are to Oregon and Michigan. So like it is.
It's pretty crazy to put it in those terms.
Like you have to think of it a little bit if you're Ryan Day, but if you focus on the revenge, if you focus on anything other than execute the game plan and be a better team than Oregon for 3.5 hours on Wednesday, like then you're focused on the wrong thing. So it is weird because, for us, we're used to bowl games being, as you said, like an exhibition. And this is the first year that these are not exhibitions. Even in the past when Ohio State's played in the semifinals of games in the playoff, if we go back to 2019 against Clemson in the Fiesta Bowl, like that was still the week-long thing, like because you didn't have the first round. So there's still time for some of the other
shenanigans.
2020 with COVID, there was no time for any of that stuff. So you have, then they went to playoff in 22.
They had
the
nonsense at the Peach Bowl.
The nonsense at the Peach Bowl, but it was, the college football playoff or the Hall of Fame and all that stuff. But again, you had a week lead up into it. So it's just much different when it's this truncated schedule and you have to figure out how to let these kids and their families who are all here experience the Rose Bowl, but then tell them you're not playing in the Rose Bowl. You're playing in a football game.
You're playing a quarterfinal.
Right. You're playing a quarterfinal and it happens to be in Pasadena. So it's not the same thing. So it is an interesting balancing act, I think, for Ryan Day and the staff.
I thought it was a balancing act for us because many of the full team media day had every player available. That was Ohio State's choice. They did not have to do that. And they did. That was the one sort of thing. And I was surprised by that because normally
coaches were surprised. I mean, people in that room were like, I don't know why all these guys are here.
Yeah, but that was a program decision. Oregon, I believe they just followed the 2 deep, which was all that was required by the college football playoff. Again, not saying there's a right or wrong way, but I was a little bit surprised by that because typically Ohio State would err on the side of less media, and bringing the whole team allowed for us to be thinking about some things and having some conversations that are more 2025 related than what's going to occur on Wednesday against Oregon. Yeah. And that's I'm trying to think about that in the moment. It's I don't want to cause a distraction.
But it's also the only time we get a chance to talk to these people. So, and I think the decision to bring everyone was just that, right? For Ohio State to these kids deserve a chance to have some people talk about them and talk to them. So it's weird because it does seem like an opportunity to invite distraction. Most of the guys I haven't seen anything inflammatory on Twitter or anywhere that anyone said anything crazy.
No, I mean, it was more of you talked about Lincoln Kienholz to start it. Will Kazmarek was asked. I think Dan Hope was the first one to go ask him 11 Warriors about his decision for next year, which
it wasn't really a decision.
I expected Will Kazmarek to return, but anyway, he asked the question. He did the reporting on that, and that's now out in the open. Those are the kind of things that came up. It was people with portal decisions, NFL draft decisions.
Yeah, I mean, asking about portal decisions, I think, is always just a very tricky thing to. I don't know that we should be.
Yeah, I don't think it's really fair.
Asking directly. Again, we talked about it with Lincoln because he kept saying next year in the spring, that's what he was saying. So we're just saying, hey, just to verify, the intent right now is to be here, and you can tell from his response that it is. But it's certainly a unique opportunity because, yes, we have the open locker room after the game for 20 minutes on Wednesday, but depending on the outcome of the game, those conversations in that room are exceptionally different.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it feels, we've talked about, I think it's terrible that we're allowed to have an open locker room after a bowl game for a bunch of college kids. I don't think it should happen. Just for their privacy, I think it's a bad idea. And so everyone is in that room and it's very awkward and trying to avoid talking too much to people because if Ohio State were to lose this game, people want to get the hell out of the building. If they want to win, they're going to be celebrating. We have no real business being a part of that. And so it's a weird thing. So this is the opportunity to talk to a lot of these kids for not just a potential final time for guys that may end up leaving the program, but the first time for someone like Mylan Graham who we got to talk to. So
he was great.
We just haven't really, because the way the season breaks down and we talk to the same players every week and we talk to the same assistant, the quarterback and the coordinators, I understand why people would want to broach some of those topics, but it is an interesting, toe the line situation.
Yeah, I do think throughout the course of the year, Ohio State would be better served by having more of the assistants talk and give voice to what's going on, but that's a conversation for another day. Was there anything from the open practice that you took note of? Because I thought I was enamored by the ball security drills that Carlos Lachlan engineers, like a crazy obstacle course. There were 2 huge blocking pads, 2 padded bats that they were swinging. Plus you had to go through the slalom course. They did it a couple different ways, throwing a football, carrying a football. I think it was the most elaborate one I've ever seen.
Lachlan's intense. That's something that you notice. No, we only got to see pooch punting, and
Didn't go great. It was a bad pooch punting period.
not for Nick McClarty. He put 5 in a row at the 1 yard line,
Well,
but you still, that's nobody rushing you, and you don't have to hurry up and get the ball off. But it was interesting to watch. We've not seen them do that drill, I don't think, in the past, where Brian Hartline out there yelling at the guys who are trying to down the ball at the 1 yard line, saying this has to be a weapon. This, we have to. Now again, if Ohio State's punting from the 40,
not great.
it's probably an indicator that things are going wrong on Wednesday night. But the idea behind it I really like, which is we can control the game. This can be a weapon. And again, I was really impressed by Nick McClarty's ability to spot the ball, but the rest of the punters did not have the same success he did.
Well, Brian Hartline was getting on those gunners because they dropped a number.
They weren't catching the ball, which
is why I say it wasn't the most
But
encouraging.
I'm talking about it from the punter's standpoint.
I got you.
Because
I was down further. I was watching the gunners.
Because there's a lot of people wondering about Nick McClarty, because Ohio State's kicking game has been so inconsistent this year. And Joe McGuire has done a fine job being an average punter. But if you have a weapon like McClarty potentially, who is brought in and came into the program with videos of him kicking the ball out of a stadium, and then you're like, well, can he not punt? And clearly he can punt, but there is an order of operations that has to occur that I'm not sure he's entirely
we made it
mastered.
We made it to Monday afternoon of Rose Bowl week without me talking about special teams.
Yeah, but here we are. Other than that, I continue to be really just I'm going to go back to what I started with at the start of the show, but now from a on-field perspective, is that the development of Lincoln Kienholz, I think, we've seen them in the last couple of weeks at 3 practices now. The physical development, just the size of him right now, and people will see that on the Notebook video if you watch it. He is rocked up, and he's
an athlete.
He
man.
looks like he's throwing the ball so much more comfortably and with much more accuracy. He's still a little slower to get the ball out of his hand. I have a picture that I took of him and Julian saying next to each other running the same drill, and the ball is out of Julian's hand, and Lincoln's got it still back here. And I think the idea is to try to see who can get rid of it in rhythm. And that might be still his biggest obstacle to being a Big Ten starter, is just how fast do you get the ball out, because Julian's really good at that. But I just like the demeanor. I like the accuracy. I like the zip that he has on the football. And again, without looking far ahead beyond this game or the next game, I think that there is a battle coming for the quarterback spot, and I'm looking forward to that. But we didn't see a whole lot.
We didn't.
That's
okay.
A lot of handshakes. People love the handshakes, right?
You got some elaborate routines.
Yeah, and I want people to be, if you're one of the folks who are upset about Ohio State practicing handshakes in line before they practice, they've done that forever. Every football team in America shakes hands with each other before they practice. It's sort of like when you go to church and it's like, hey, say hello to your neighbor. It's just what you do. Every guy just happens to have an individual handshake with another that looks
it's
like
kind of like
it.
It's a game that they're playing,
Yeah.
and they're supposed to have fun.
Yeah.
Every team in America has that, and every Ohio State team that I've covered has done that.
Yeah. So if you're someone who was weirded out about that based on what you saw on video, Friday? Yeah. Don't be. Yeah. It's normal.
It's normal. It's good. You actually would, I think, rather have a team that likes to be around their teammates.
Yeah.
And spend time together, because those are pretty complicated. I don't know how long I'd like to. That's next time at a full team meeting. I need to find out how long it takes to get a good handshake.
It's pretty clear these guys like each other as a team.
Yeah.
And I think that is important. So when you've been through the ringer like this group has, that's who you lean on when you are put in a back against the wall situation, and backs against the wall heading into undefeated Oregon on Wednesday night. So you want that loosey-goosey vibe.
Yeah. Feels weird to be out here in California on a Monday and not at Roosters, which is a fun casual joint.
Man, I would crush some boneless wings.
Yeah, it'd be great. Appetizer Thursday will be.
What is it?
Lining up with a New Year's Eve. You can check out. Nicole's got the list for us, but I don't have it handy.
I do. Hold
okay. And of course, Roosters will be ready for you to watch Ohio State against Oregon on Wednesday in the Rose Bowl.
The final appetizer Tuesday is mini corn dogs.
Mini corn dogs to cap 2024. That's going to be $3 on Tuesday at your local participating Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. Appreciate Nicole and the whole team for continuing to sponsor a playoff report as we continue along, even though we couldn't be back in our normal location at Henderson with Jay-Z and Bob or Brad and Nicole. But we're going to keep trucking along out here.
Yep. We'll have one
Los
more of
Angeles.
these tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
After the coaches' press conference.
Yep.
And
we'll have bold predictions on Tuesday morning as well. There's a bunch of stuff on Kings of Columbus and Kings of the North coming out as well. And then we're all getting ready for New Year's Day and pregame keys and everything else that will go around Ohio State, Oregon. We're another day closer, and Ohio State is almost done with all the media obligations. Just Ryan Day and Dan Lanning left. That will be streaming on the Ohio State, on the podcast YouTube channel on Tuesday, or probably Ohio State's website.
probably that too.
Either way, you'll find it, and then we'll come talk about it after that. But thanks for joining us on this Roosters Playoff Report. He's Berm. I'm Austin. Talk to you tomorrow.